Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga. This time, we journey to Hoenn. But previously, we had the showdown against Team Rocket, led by the mysterious Mask of Ice that turned out to be a very despondent, spoiler alert, Price, who had long ago lost 2 Laprases he had, and that consumed his life forevermore. And the thing about something that consumes your life, sometimes it's not just your life that it ends up consuming, as he had taken several children under his wing, changing their lives forevermore. But with all the Pokédex holders coming together and the endless tenacity of Gold, they were able to overcome him and restore peace to Johto. And in the previous video we saw Gold going out and training with Red so that he could grow stronger. But it's time for a new adventure. It's time for a new journey. It's time for this adventure to become advanced in the adaptation of the games that were the last I played before Sun and Moon. No, I never went to Emerald, which is disappointing because, spoiler alert, one of my favorite Pokemon is Rayquaza, but I was still checking out the anime, so, well, hopefully I still remember a lot of what happens in the Hoenn region. But even if I don't, it's a journey for both you and me to experience together. So join me, won't you? Alright, we're jumping into Pokemon Adventures Ruby and Sapphire, Volume 15. And I do recall certain things about what in one version would have been Brandon and May, but is Ruby and Sapphire, that I'll talk about once we get to it, depending on how far in that actually is. But May I am very familiar with, but this is a different version of May. For Brandon, or I should say Ruby, is kind of foreign to me, because even in animation, you rarely ever saw him. You had Gold / Ethan / Jimmy in The Legend of Thunder, but we never got anything for this male protagonist here. So I'm interested to actually get something that gives him a personality in my eyes. There he is. Oh, he has a little, what's it called? Poochyena. Oh, I love Poochyena. Again, that kind of probably gives away. Oh, no, I didn't put him on the list. I'm gonna put him on the list. There's a Pokemon I didn't put on my favorites list, but I had to. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but it'll be a treat when you see it. Alright. Don't want to spoil too much. Ooh, it's a nice Hex, the 4th chapter. Pokemon Adventures, the 4th chapter. And we have narration. In a region far, far away, a new Pokemon adventure is about to unfold. And, ooh, already. Okay, some of these I am not familiar with. We have Duskull, Volbeetle, Cacnea, Wingull, and Beautifly. The only one I'm not really too familiar with is Volbeetle. We have a person standing before these Pokemon in chapter 181, creeping past Cacnea. All the Pokemon attack the person. Is that Norman? And what did he just do? Did he shoot out a Pokeball? It hit all of the Pokemon and returned to his hand? And those weird shooting styles. What the heck? Yeah, it is Norman. Norman turns with a grin and a flourish as he takes out all the Pokemon. A reporter? The heck? Oh, it's Gabby and Ty. I vaguely remember the reporter lady and the cameraman who would follow around. You battled them a couple of times. Yeah, this is around when you start doing double battles. Right. I love double battles. I always feel like you don't get to do enough of them in most situations. Gabby comes running out saying, "Incredible, did you see that?" Caught on camera for our loyal TV audience. It's Petalburg City's new gym leader, Norman, practicing his impressive Pokemon battle skills. And in most situations, you're not really battling the Pokemon yourself, but you know. Also, I forgot, yeah, you start the game as you've just moved to the Hoenn region, and Norman's your father, and he's the new gym leader. Do we ever find out who was the previous gym leader of Petalburg? What I can find now. That would have been interesting to find out. Gabby asks, you managed to defeat several Pokemon at once, Norman. Do you always train so strenuously? Norman simply says yes. Okay. And then Gabby asks, now that you've become our very own gym leader, I've heard your wife and son will be moving out here to join you. Is that true? Norman looks off in the distance saying, yes, they should be arriving from Johto today. I can't wait to see them again. Gabby turns to the camera, Ty holding the camera, saying, that's wonderful, wonderful. So what type of Pokemon do you specialize in? Oh, okay. And, Mom? It's kind of weird because, okay, I want to call her some name instead of just Ruby's mom. So I guess I'll go with the one from the Pokemon anime. Caroline. Meet Caroline. Caroline says, ha, honey, you sure look handsome on TV. And finally we can live together as a family again. I'm so glad. And this was actually got ahead of its time because, TV-like things on cars weren't really that prominent. Well, no, more expensive cars back during this time period, but now they're a lot more common. Oh god, there's a Pokemon crossing sign in that one panel, and this is of a Pokemon ramming the car, jeez. But then again, I think Canada has that for moose. Then again, we also, where I live, there's deer crossing, so what am I saying? Caroline says, Ruby, look, your father's on TV. As usual, he isn't paying any attention. Why don't you come up front so we can watch it together? What am I looking at? Oh, packages all tied down? Oh, yep. And here's the thing. Ruby isn't a battler. He's about contests. Something I already knew, which changes up the character that usually is the role for May. But then again, changing up the dynamic isn't a bad thing. You know, it's go for the non-gender conforming roles, I think is actually a kind of cool concept. Caroline calls out, hey, did you hear me? Ruby! Ruby adjusts his glasses saying, one sec, I'm in the middle of something. He's sewing something, and then he says, there, all done. Here are your hats, try them on. Ooh, very classy. As he's made hats for, a Skitty, Ralts, and Poochyena. Ruby says, wait a minute, I think the fur on this side is a little too long. Oh god, he's perfectionist. He's like Death the Kid. He goes in with a styling flourish on Poochyena, and he says, wonderful, excellent, exquisite perfection. But suddenly the truck he's on comes to a skidding halt, and he as his Pokemon are flung into several of the boxes. Caroline says, ooh, oh my, oh my. She knocks on the back of the truck door saying, hey Ruby, the truck's stuck in the mud. Come out and help. As we see a Hitmonchan. Oh, I mean, no, not Hitmon. The Machoke Movers. I don't know why I was blanking on the name. The Machoke Movers coming over to help out as Ruby shouts from the back, no! Much to his mother's chagrin, Caroline questions what? While Ruby's brushing his Skitty's fur, saying, your fur. Our truck's stuck in mud, right? If I come outside, my Pokemon will get filthy. The Machoke pats Caroline on the back as she sighs. Ruby then says, besides, the truck's already free of the mud. As suddenly the truck is floated out of the mud and off the ground, Caroline shouting, hey! As Ruby says thanks to Rara and Rara's confusion ability. So confusion is more like a psychic attack. Because how does confusion equate to levitation? As we see Ralts levitating the truck, Ruby bursts out of the back, saying, so this is the Hoenn region. It's nice. The perfect backdrop for my Pokemon. As the truck lands, Caroline goes running over, as Ruby's now elegantly sitting on the top of the truck, saying, that's right, my team's always gotta be smart, tough, cute, cool, and of course, beautiful. Oh man. Oh, he is full of himself. I love it. I love it. Oh, drama queen alert. But I gotta love it. Okay, this character could never be May. The May I know could never. All right. We pick up on Route 110, where Professor Birch, Professor Birch, he's climbing a tree. Professor Birch was kind of an off-kilter professor, even more so than the kind of nerdy Professor Elm or the stern but novel Professor Oak. But Professor Birch has climbed the tree through a rope and says, "Ah, I found it! The nest of Wurmple, the worm Pokemon." Wurmple. Never my favorite. I think usually I'd preferred once it evolved, I think. It does evolve into Beautifly, right? Yeah, Beautifly. Yep. And Wurmple's just worming along. Oh, it's spinning a web. Oh, okay. Oh, it's evolving in the same way Caterpie did in the Pokemon anime. Cool. Birch is watching, saying, "Ooh, and it's about to evolve." He brings out a Pokédex, and after going through its reading, he says, "I see, it's just as it says here. This machine is amazing. I'm glad I got a hold of this device." Oh, he's new to the Pokédex. Oh, see, that always catches me off guard because I'm so used to the Pokemon anime and game treating things like they've just always been a part of this world. But no, here they're just like, nope, this is a new thing. We all acknowledge it. Okay, I forgot there are two different cocoon types. That's right, a Silcoon and a Cascoon. I always thought that was a little interesting that it could evolve into two different directions. That kind of stuff is always fascinating to me. Birch says, this cocoon is different from the one I saw just a moments ago. That one was purple, but this one is white. Maybe it's a different variety of... Suddenly there's a ringing on his Pokegear. He says, "Oh, I see now. Apparently the purple one is a Cascoon. I'll look up the white one again later." He then answers his Pokegear saying, "Hello." We see several Pokemon just out and about. I'm not going through all of them. Okay, now, just for the sake of it, you got Electrike, yeah, Shroomish I'm used to, Tailo, Makuhita, Seedot, and Nincada. Oh, yeah. See, I'm used to his final evolution, Ninjask. Or, no, that's not the final evolution. Shedinja. Yeah. I always thought Ninjask was the final evolution, but, again, learning something new. Or relearning. Birch says, "Yes, Norman? Oh, congratulations on getting appointed gym leader. Ha. What? Today? Your family is moving here today? Oh, why yes, I did forget. My apologies. Sure, we'll be next door neighbors now. I'll hurry back into town to help you unload your boxes, no problem." Oh, we see two eyes watching him from the treetop. As Birch hangs up, he says, we'll all have dinner together tonight. I can't wait. Oh, and he doesn't realize he's being stalked by Mightyena, so they're going with Mightyena instead of him being chased by Poochyena. Cool. In chapter 182, Making Mirth with Mightyena. Making Mirth. And the Pokemon that I had to include because I just love the design, Mightyena. I will say, whenever I put Mightyena in my party, it doesn't remain there long. I don't remember if I kept Mightyena in my party. I feel like I ended up finding Pokemon that I just vibed with better. We then cut back over to Littleroot Town. Is that a Whisperer? Yeah, Whismer. Yeah, there's a Whismer hanging outside along with a Zangoon or a Zigzagoon. I gotta tell you, once Zigzagoon came over to the Galarian region, man, dude, I got, Linoon, just not my favorite. Galarian Linoon, and especially when it evolves into Obstagoon? Oh! Went from being a Pokemon I cared nothing about to being like, yes! Linoon Obstagoon is my boy! He ain't even at that point and I'm jonesing for one of my favorite Pokemon. Oh, sorry, got sidetracked. We see Caroline, bringing bags in, while the mighty Machoke brings in several boxes. I love the idea of Pokemon just helping out. You saw it in the previous story where you had just personalized Pokemon doing things here and there, but it was when you got to Ruby and Sapphire, you actually saw the Pokemon just out in the world doing stuff. It's not like you didn't see it kind of before, but now you're starting to really see it, and that was always fun to me. And the first thing you see is the Machoke movers, and as they bring things into Ruby's room, you have Poochyena, Skitty, and Ralts helping out. Caroline says, "Nice, isn't it? This will be your new room. Your father's coming home tonight, so I'm going to start unpacking." No, I'm starting to wonder, because of the way they do it here, it's almost like the Machoke's her Machoke. Probably not. Ruby sees a package on his desk that reads, "Happy birthday from Dad." It's a new pair of running shoes, and Ruby immediately chucks them into the trash. Haughty. Ruby opens up his closet where you see rows of the same shirt, the same pants, and the same hat. Look, yeah, I'll admit it. I was one of the people who thought that was his hair. It was anime protagonist hair. And then you see his actual hair, it's just like, oh, buddy, never take off that hat. I need you to be like Double D from Ed, Edd n Eddy and never take off that hat. Because the moment dude takes off that, it's a lot more obvious once you get to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's just like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely a hat. Or he just has part of his hair dyed. It's just like, man, it was cooler when I thought that was your hair, though, man. It was cooler when I thought it was your hair. Oh man, because once to any image of Brendan or Ruby without his hat, just, oh my god, I have the most guttural reaction. Like, no. I don't know why. I know now it's not his hair, but my brain freaks out. I cannot tell you why. I want to call him Brendan. Ruby packs away several shirts into a bag, saying he'll pay even less attention to his family. He pulls out a document literally labeled Runaway Plan and says, okay, let's go over the plan again. Kiki, Nana, Rara. He addresses his Skitty, Poochyena, and Ralt. I do always like the fact that most protagonists in each story already has Pokemon of their own. It just makes it feel like, no, Pokemon are always someone always has Pokemon. The starter Pokemon are more of a, hey, just in case you don't have Pokemon with you kind of situation. Ruby says, I know we just moved here, but we're leaving today. Oh, and they're all brandishing contest ribbons? Ruby says, my gorgeous Pokemon, all of you have won a bunch of Pokemon contests where beauty and cuteness counted. But I've heard there are even tougher Pokemon contests in the Hoenn region, and I want to win them all, each and every one of them. They all looked at the distant stars in their eyes, except for Skitty. Skitty still got the slanted eyes. Oh, man. But Ruby then grits his teeth, saying, the only thing standing in my way is that battle-crazed father of mine. He'll never let me pursue my dream. He's bound and determined to drag me into his world of Pokemon battles and training, but I won't let him. Man, it's so wild that he's more about just the ego. But honestly, almost every, I'll say, male protagonist so far has had a bit of an ego. Even Red had a bit of an ego. Ruby then thinks of his father groveling before him, Ruby flanked by a whole bunch of awards, saying, I'll show him. I'll win all those Pokemon contests my way, and I'll throw my victories in his battle-obsessed face. No wonder he's haughty. He's already won a few awards, so he's kind of up his own butt. I actually do like the fact that he's won contests before, and apparently Johto, I think, which is fun. That's fun. So the fact that he already has Hoenn Pokemon despite coming from Johto, that's interesting too. Ruby peeks down from the second floor, seeing his mom preparing stuff in the kitchen. Man, it looked like they got it back fast. He thinks, sorry, Mom. He then goes over to the window and drops down a rope. As he puts on his backpack, he looks over, seeing the shoes he put in the trash. He pauses for a moment, then takes them. And yeah, they're stylish shoes and they go with your freaking tracksuit outfit. Take them. Who are they, the runner shoes? As Ruby's making his way down the water side, the beach side, whatever, he says, I have to hurry up and find a place for us to spend the night before they call the police and start looking for me. He then sees a man dangling from a rope from a tree. He goes, huh? Amazing. What is that? And Professor Birch calls out, help me! As the branch he's on snaps and he hits the ground hard. Ugh. And at your age, that's gonna be sore for a while. But you'll heal. Brandon comes over to Bert saying, are you okay? Bert says, I'm being attacked by Pokemon. I seem to have entered their territory whilst doing my research. I'm sorry to bother you, but are you by any chance a Pokemon trader? And if so, would you mind assisting me? Ruby says, yes, I am, but I would mind and I won't. Man, wow. I can't wait to find out what the evolution of Ruby's character is, because Red changed a lot, but Gold changed quite a bit, but he still kind of remained the same kind of arrogant so-and-so he'd always been, but it got endearing. So I'm interested to see how this goes. Birch questions, huh? Why not? Ruby shrugs, saying, if I fight in a muddy swamp like this, my Pokemon will get all dirty. Bert says, are you serious? When suddenly the mighty Anna approached from behind, Bert is shocked, saying, oh, they're here. As the mighty Anna stalked forward, Ruby is aghast, as Birch thinks those Pokemon are extremely angry. How will he handle it? But Ruby, with stars in his eyes, smiles, saying, breathtaking. Oh God! I like that he sees Pokemon like this and it's just like, oh, so cool. I gotta admit, again, one of my favorites. Much to Birch's dismay, Ruby says, they're stunning. I've never seen Pokemon like this before. Their fur is so silky. He comes forward saying, have you two ever considered entering a Pokemon contest? You're dazzling. I'm sure you'd win. The mighty Ed are just growling, and then they snap at him. Bert shouts, look out! As Ruby manages to dodge out of the way, and then he just runs in a circle, saying, oops, oh, come on, don't be that way. Pokemon contests are fabulous fun. He turns to Bert, saying, excuse me, what are these Pokemon called? Birch is just kind of bewildered, but Red then spots Birch's Pokédex, right? Because you find it on the ground, and he reads out the data for Mighty Anna, the bite Pokemon. Ruby says, this thing checks a Pokemon's data for you? That's magnificent. Mighty Anna. And then he pulls out of his Pokeball, going, Poochie, Anna? And then he turns back, saying, wow, are you a Volt Pokemon? Look, Nana, you're going to look just like them when you evolve. I see you taking top honors in the cool and beauty categories already. Let's practice so you can impress the judges. Bert says, what are you? As Ruby strikes a pose, he says, always cool, even as the world rushes by, able to run away and race the wind, the magnificent, the incomparable Poochyena, Nana, behold! And Poochyena comes out and then struts, much to Birch's dismay, like, what? Huh? Red, then, I keep wanting to call him Red. Ruby says in a Pokemon contest, it's important that you call out your Pokemon from their Pokeballs. Even your introduction has to appeal to the judges. Okay, now, Nana, Leer! And Poochyena just goes leaping around using Leer with stylish moves. I gotta tell you, the Pokemon contest, they were not my bag. I don't think they're bad in any way, but they just were not for me. And I didn't so much mind watching May in the anime do her Pokemon contest thing, and I like that Jessie got into it too, because that gave Jessie in the anime a little bit something extra. But it just was not my thing. I guess it's the dude in me. As Poochyena lands gracefully, Bert says, "Ooh, what an elegant move!" And then he turns to the Mightyena, who are still growling up a storm, and he says, "But it had absolutely no effect on them." So Ruby and Birch take off. Ruby saying, "Well, that didn't work." Birch says, "Of course not. You can't do anything with your Pokemon if all you care about is its looks. What are you training your Pokemon for anyway?" Ruby says, "Pokemon contests, of course. Those Mightyena run so gracefully, too. I hope my Nana grows up to be just like them." He then hands over the bag, Pokedex, and Pokegear to Bert, saying, "Ooh, I picked up your bag for you, by the way." Bert says, "We could talk about that later." Ruby says, "But, oh, he activates the running shoes." "Oh, cool, he already has the running shoes." I love the running shoes. Oh, man. Man, when I tell you, when I found out you have these shoes that just increase your running ability so much. Oh, I was at a loss because I'm like, man, what do I prefer more? The bike or the shoes? The bike or the shoes? The bike or the shoes? But Ruby accidentally activates his shoes and takes off, first saying, "What the? Those shoes?" And oh, the Mightyena, they give it up on Birch as Birch falls. Hey, you don't got to be faster than the Mightyena. You just got to be faster than the guy behind you. Unfortunately, if the Mightyena don't care about the guy behind you, you might need to be a little bit fast. Ruby says, "What about my shoes?" As he then notices he's going over a cliff, and he's off the cliff with his Poochyena and the Mightyena. Birch comes over the cliffside, shouting, "Oh no!" He sees the Mightyena have landed safely, but Ruby's nowhere to be found, as Ruby's still falling through the treetops. Oh, but an unknown figure glares from a hole in the tree, and then, covered in leaves, oh, is this who I think it is? Comes swinging off on a vine, grabs Ruby, and manages to get him to safety. Ruby says, "Pokemon saved me?" And then he loses consciousness. Ruby, now in a cave, is awoken by Poochyena licking his face. Ruby says, "Nana? Where are we?" He then turns, seeing the unknown leaf-covered figure reaching for grapes on a nearby tree. Ruby thinks to himself, "That's the Pokemon who saved us." He then hears a ringing from Professor Birch's bag. He says, "It's coming from that man's bag. Guess I'll answer." Ruby goes, "Hello?" And Birch at a nearby payphone. Interesting. Ah, man, they have Pokegear and you still have payphones. Truly a blessed timeline. Birch says, Is that you? That Pokemon contest crazed boy I just met?" Ruby says, "Yep." Birch says, "So you're all right. That's great. I'm terribly sorry I involved you in this. You're not hurt, are you?" Ruby says, "I'm fine, but I'm not sure where I am. Looks like some kind of cave." Birch says, "Oh, how'd you get there?" Ruby tells him, "A green Pokemon helped me. It carried me here." Man, it looks like some Pokemon that you see in the future, too. Birch, now sitting on the ground next to the payphone, says, "Oh my, what a surprise. I've never heard of a wild Pokemon behaving like that before. Oh, by the way, allow me to introduce myself. The name is Birch. I'm a professor. I study Pokemon. I was doing field work today, you see, when..." Ruby says, "Don't worry about me. I'm not hurt." Birch says, "Oh, if I may ask, is your name by any chance Ruby?" Ruby, a cold shiver comes over Ruby as he says, "How did you know?" Birch says, "Those shoes you're wearing. Running shoes with an acceleration feature created by the Devon Corporation." Oh, the Devon Corporation. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah, you go to the building. They have all these, experimental thingy. Is that the place with the kind of mall-like situation with the vending machines? I can't remember. Birch says, "They haven't been released to the public yet, but someone begged me to procure a pair for his son's birthday, so I did. His name was Norman. Your father, right? I knew you when you were quite small. Ruby says, yes, that's neat. What a coincidence, he says nervously, thinking, oh, that's just fabulous. A friend of my dad's. Bert says, you just arrived today, didn't you? What were you doing out there in the wilderness all by yourself? Ruby thinks, phew, good. I guess he doesn't know I ran away. With Ruby not noticing the green figure approaching him. Oh, the figure says, hey, are you awake? Grabbing his shoulder, Ruby freaks out. Ah! The green figure then says, I'm telling you, was really surprised when something came falling from that cliff over there. Oh my god, this person talks like Meowth! It talks like Meowth! This place is downright nuts. You can't hardly even follow the road if you're trying to get out of here. Oh no, I hear Meowth's voice in my head. That's gonna be a problem, knowing who this is. That's hilarious. Oh, Ruby says, oh my, oh my, oh my, the Pokemon just spoke! Ah, Freaky, get away from me! And Poochyena goes in and bites the green figure. He goes, ow, that hurt! And so, Sapphire removes her green cloak. Oh, she already has a Torchic on her head. Oh man, and those nails and toenails, dang. See, I want to call her May, but at the same time, man, again, breaking convention, ain't looking like no May I know. Sapphire says, I was just trying to help you. Why'd you go and do that for, huh? Ruby freaks out, going, ah. Ruby freaks out, saying, you're human? As Sapphire roars, Torchic rushes in, using ember on Poochyena, burning its face. Ruby freaks out. Ah, my poor Nana's beautifully brushed fur. He returns his Poochyena as Birch on the Pokegear calls out, what's the matter, Ruby? Ruby says, I'm being attacked. The Pokemon who brought me here. Birch says, you're being attacked by a Pokemon? Good grief! Your Pokemon look great, but they're too weak to do battle. Do you still have my bag with you? Ruby, having grabbed the bag and running away from Sapphire, says, yes. Birch says, open it. And we see Mudkip and Trico. Hey, it is Mudkip and Trico, right? Yep, Mudkip and Trico. Had to second guess that one. Honestly, this is one of the few cases where I was interested in all the stars, because I love the way all the stars look. Well, actually, no, I usually love the way all the stars look. It's their final evolutions that sometimes I'm a little dubious on, but we'll talk about that when they come up. Regardless, chapter 183, trying to trounce Torchic. Birch tells them, I've been doing special research on those two Pokemon. And since I'm the one who got you into this mess, you may keep one of my Pokemon as a token of apology. Ruby looks at the two Pokemon with dismay, saying, thanks? Birch asks, do you know what Pokemon is attacking you? Ruby says, no, but it's using fire. Birch says, in that case, you ought to pick the blue one. It's a water-type Pokemon, Mudkip. And Mudkip, who has a bit of a runny nose, Ruby goes, ew. He thinks to himself, ick. Maybe I should have picked the green one. Definitely not going to win any cool or beauty prizes anytime soon. Maybe toughness, though. Which, man, the internet hearing you say that would crucify you, man. The crowd loves a Mudkip. Oh, suddenly Sapphire is upon him, hissing at him, striking out. Birch says, what's with the chit-chat? Hurry up and defend yourself. Ruby dodges out of the way, bringing Mudkip, saying, but if my Pokemon fight in a dusty cave like this, they'll get dirty. Birch gets angry, saying, not that again. As Ruby continues to dodge out of the way of Torchic's flame attack, Sapphire says, hey, hold still and quit dodging my attack. You're the one who started this, you know. Suddenly Mudkip goes in with a water gun, much to Ruby's dismay, but Torchic manages to blast it back. Sapphire grabs Ruby by the shirt, saying, and now that I have your attention, I saved you. So, why do you want to go and attack me? What have you got to say for yourself? Birch hears this, saying, what have you, Ruby? Is there someone else there with you? Ruby says, that's what I've been trying to tell you. It wasn't a Pokemon who saved me after all. It was a girl. Some kind of wild beast girl who I can barely understand. Oh no, she's not speaking in that much of a broken English. Birch says, girl, wild beast. He plots on the ground going, oh dear, that girl is my daughter. She assists me with my field work. Her name is Sapphire. Yeah. See, the whole thing about it being your rival being the either the boy or the girl that you don't choose was interesting for the games and even for the manga, knowing that. But it's always been weird to me that it was never brought up in the anime. Because it's such a kind of pivotal point of thing. I always question that. But Ruby is aghast saying, what? Versus, anyway, hand off my Pokegear to her and let me talk to... And then he loses service. Yeah, okay. It does work like a cell phone. Man, I thought these things could work dang near anywhere. Ruby says, hello? Lost him. But as Sapphire's still standing off, he didn't smell something. Ruby says, this is all a big misunderstanding. I've met your father. I have his bag and his Pokegear. And he gave me this Pokemon too. Are you listening to me? As Ruby is slinking off in the opposite direction, he says, I just have to trust that you know my pop and talk about it later. Oh, as suddenly, unbeknownst to Ruby, they've been set upon by another of my favorite Pokemon, and I love the fact that Jesse got this one, Sniper. See, it was by Ruby that my certain aesthetic for Pokemon started to become really apparent. Like, I have a preference, and it's on full display here. Just it's very apparent because when it comes to some of my favorite Pokemon, it's dark and poison. I'm not the biggest fan of poison, but man, look, poison type looks cool, okay? The poison type looks cool. And then a Viper? Oh. It looks so cool. It looks so cool and deadly with the red eyes and the red fang and the red blade tail and the little golden accoutrements or scales on its body, on its black body. Just, it's such a good color aesthetic. I just love it. And this thing is huge. Now that I get a good look at it, this thing is looming over them. My God! Ruby says, what's that? Well, we see that Sapphire got the Pokedex. When did she get the Pokedex? Well, that's her Pokedex. Oh, okay. How are you operating that with those nails? I've never understood that. Sapphire reads it out. Sviper, the Fang snake Pokemon. Ruby turns aghast saying, you have one of those thingamajiggies too? Sapphire tells him, it's called a Pokedex. Oh, Sviper strikes out at them with its fangs, but they barely manage to dodge out of the way. Sapphire saying, I'm helping my pop perform a distributional survey of Pokemon around here. The cave is my secret base. I use it to keep an eye on them. Oh, but Sapphire sees Viper's tail coming at her, but she manages to grab it and just get swung around on it. Man, May could never. I feel like I'm putting down May in this, but man, May, Sapphire acts more like how I would see man, even Ash doesn't go this hard. And as Sapphire just being flung around on Viper's tail, she says, what you doing? Give me a hand here, will you? This is one powerful Pokemon. If you don't do something fast, you're gonna get hurt. And so Ruby winds up and releases his Pokemon next to the Mudkip, who's a little taken aback, who says, no way! My dream is to become the champion of every Pokemon contest. If I let my Pokemon fight too many battles, they'll get all muscular and lose their cuteness. Sapphire says, Pokemon contest? You mean the silly ones where they only care about the Pokemon's looks? Ruby is aghast saying, silly ones? They're not silly! These characters are so fun. Oh, man. I thought I'd be a little bit put off by how different how they've been in my mind because of the way I see May for contests and stuff like that. And then Brendan is the battler, he's the son of Norman and all that. Even though that kind of goes against the anime, the continuities are all over the place for me. But these are too fun to hate. It's too fun to hate. Sapphire says, right, whatever, chick. And Torchic goes in as Sapphire tells it to use Ember, and Torchic does just that, burning Seviper's head. Oh, and taking it out? My God, that's a strong Torchic. Then again, Seviper doesn't really have any pre-evolution, right? Yeah. See, I kept expecting there to be some kind of pre-evolution release for Seviper, but there never has been. It's kind of odd to me that it's already just like that. Love me a Seviper, though. So it could have been at any level. It's just big. Sapphire, stands up after landing from Seviper's tail saying, I don't like Pokemon that can't fight. I don't like fancying them all up, neither. Things look best when you leave them alone like nature intended. He says, wiping her mouth. Ruby then holds his nose and fans himself, saying, is that why you look like that? At least wear normal clothes. One slip up and you're gonna give this book a higher age rating. That's all I'm saying, man. Sapphire yells, Pokemon won't get close to you when you're wearing synthetic things. Ruby says, and you stink. That's unsanitary. Ruby says, oh really, mister, I've dyed my hair white as snow. You call yourself normal with that hairstyle? Ruby says, for your information, this is a hat. See, I'm glad even they acknowledge it. It's just like, oh man, cool white dyed hair. It's a hat. What? What? The two glare angrily at each other and then turn away. Ruby saying, looks like we'll never agree on anything. Sapphire says, looks like. She then takes a moment going, I know. How's about we have ourselves a little bet? My dream is to be the best Pokemon battler ever. And to do that, I'm going to go around to all 8 Pokemon gyms and challenge other gym leaders. We're actually bringing back challenging gym leaders. Yo! I'll beat them all. And you want to win all the Pokemon contests. When we're done, we'll meet here again and show how much we've improved. How about it? Let's say 80 days. Why specifically 80 days? Why not go for 90, a full 3 months? Ruby says, I haven't agreed to your plan yet. Sapphire mocks, saying, oh yeah? How come? You scared? If you can become the champion of every Pokemon contest in 80 days, then I'll give you your props. And I'll change my mind about the contest too. How about it? Ruby takes a moment, then says, fine, you're on. See, for some reason, I thought they switched objectives to kind of get a vibe for the way the other thing is. Like, Sapphire would do the contest to one-up Ruby, and Ruby would do the gyms in order to one-up Sapphire. But, okay, so they're switching roles. Oh, and then Sapphire staggers, saying, good, it's a deal. And she passes out. Ruby going, hey, what's wrong? And he sees claw marks on her back. Ruby thinks, oh, I see now. You must have protected me from the Mighty Anna's attack when she caught me as I was falling off the cliff. He silently lowers his bag and pulls out a binder? What is that? Oh, it's kits. Is it a first aid kit? Makeup kit, sewing kit, first aid kit? That would make sense. We then cut to, I want to call her May, Sapphire sleeping with the little leaf cloak she had over her like a blanket. Ruby says, okay, her wound should heal up nicely now. But we then see the Viper open its eyes and go silently for Ruby. But Ruby says, whether I have the power to Pokemon battle and whether I want to use that power are two different things. As suddenly, the Viper is down out of nowhere, and Ruby runs off saying, come on, let's go, to his other Pokemon who follow him merrily, except the Mudkip who's like, wait, what? Like, buddy. And their countdown reads, only 80 days left. Huh, dang. Okay, that's ominous. Cool. Ooh, I like seeing this little adventure map showing both Ruby and Sapphire are still in Little Root. The next destination is Route 101 and then Oldale Town. Sapphire currently just has her Torchic chick, female, level 14. Oh, we don't know the levels of Ruby's Pokemon. That's interesting. Oh, it's more in the stats of a Pokemon contest, so you wouldn't need to know the level. Ah, that's clever. To get around how battle experienced Ruby is, which Makes sense. His dad is a gym leader. Probably had some gregarian training, kind of like Blue had. And Ruby's just like, yeah, nah, I ain't about that. Peace, chief. But he has most of his Pokemon are female. His Poochyena Nana, his Skitty Kitty, his Ralts Rara, and then he named his male Mudkip Moo Moo. Moo Moo. Nana excels in being cool. Kiki excels in cuteness. Rara excels in smart. And Moo Moo, yeah, we still working on that one. Honestly, considering their final evolutions, I don't think Ruby would have been down with any of them. At most, it probably would have been Trico's second evolution. And then he would have been like, yeah, don't evolve any further. Okay. Oh man, you gotta learn ribbons and oh god, no. Yeah, no, I never getting all those ribbons. Ugh. I think that was maybe the thing that kind of killed it for me too, just all the ribbon. Alright. Sapphire wakes up going, ow, ow. Huh? The pain in my back. It's gone. As she looks back to the scratches she has, Torchic is overjoyed. She looks to Professor Birch's bag, saying, did that boy treat my wound? What's this? A letter? It reads, there's something I have to tell you. And Sapphire says, why that little? Ruby's letter reads, first, you should wear clothes. First of all, put something on. We don't need the censors coming after us. So in gratitude for saving me, I've altered my own clothes to fit you. Wear them. You'll look great. They'll look great on you. Oh, that is actually really fun reasoning as to why their clothes look so similar. Well, not so similar, but similar enough. Sapphire sees the clothes and says, what kind of fancy duds are these? My fashion sense is none of his business. Hey, wait a minute. Does this mean he checked my measurements while I was sleeping? Then Torchic blushes a little. Like, girl, you're running around in a leaf bikini and grass skirt. I mean, it was a weird time to have modesty. Meanwhile, Ruby is off with his Poochyena, Skitty, and Ralts in chapter 184, Distracting Dustox. He stretches going, it always feels so good to have done something nice for someone. Oh, he's already in Oldale Town. Where Ruby says, now, the only problem is you, he says, pointing to Mudkip, who's shocked. Mudkip, wipe your nose. He says, well, I'm still glad Professor Birch gave you to me. It's always good things to have a variety of Pokemon to choose from. But which category should I enter you in? Nana specializes in coolness, Kiki specializes in cuteness, Rara specializes in smartness. My Pokemon all specialize in something. You know, pretty soon they're going to realize I've run away and come looking for me. I promised Sapphire I'd compete with her over the next 80 days, but I hardly have any time as it is. Okay, but wait, what was all the categories? Smart, tough, cool, Kiwi. So, tough. That's easy. Get Mudkip to specialize in toughness, especially if you get it to his final evolution. So I'm asking you, please, do your best, okay? And Mudkip has just this vacant look on his face. Ruby snaps his finger saying, I believe every Pokemon has the potential to be elegant and graceful. Probably. Pay attention. We'll start by learning how to appeal to the judges. Kiki, he says to a Skitty, consider this bridge your stage and show our new friend what you've got. And while Ruby gets out a microphone, Kitty struts her stuff. Flaunt it, flaunt it, flaunt it, flaunt it, turn and roll. Always cute, every minute of the day, winning the world over with cute charm. It's the stunning Pokemon Skitty. Kiki, behold! And Skitty plays with her tail. And now it's Mudkip's turn and he says, got that? Now you try. Let's start with the walk. Walk cutely. And Mudkip walks daintily. That doesn't look right. Try walking coolly. And Mudkip goes in all hard as nails, stomping about. And then he says, nope, how about smartly then? And Mudkip with Ruby's glasses on just dizzily walks around. Ruby says, You're just not getting it. Like this. Walk slightly and softly like leaves fluttering in the breeze. And Mudkip just starts swaying about. And Ruby says, that looks even worse. Here, use this leaf as an example. It's hard to pull off. What's up with this leaf? Oh, it's the wing of a dustox. Oh no, it's the wing of a dustox. Oh boy. And Ruby freaks out a little as the dustox is pissed, like, hey, quit pulling on my wing. Meanwhile, back in Little Root Town, Professor Birch is talking with Caroline, I'm still gonna call her that, saying, I see. And when you awoke, Ruby was already gone. Oh, he's talking with Sapphire too, who's sitting on the balcony. That does explain why she already has the torchic. Birch says, and he left my bag, my Poke Gear, and Trico behind. Poor Trico left out. Where's my Pokedex? That's all that, Sapphire says, that's all that there was. All that there was there. He left a note telling me to return them to you, Bob. Caroline starts to faint, saying, just when I thought we were finally going to live together as a family again, he had to go and run away. Oh. Birch turns to her, saying, I'm sure Ruby's okay. Pull yourself together. I'll call Norman for you. He's at the Petalburg gym, Birch says, pulling out his Poke Gear. Caroline says, thank you. Norman answers at the Petalburg gym, saying, hello? Oh, it's you. What's up? And Caroline grabs the Poke Gear, saying, I can't find Ruby. From what Professor Birch and his daughter tell me, it seems he's run away from home. What should we do? And Birch says, let me talk to him. Hey, Norman, it's me, Birch. I'll contact the police then. Norman tells him, there's no need to call the police. I'll find him myself. And he crushes the phone. Whoa! That is not the Norman I remember from the anime or even the game. Oh god, he kind of looks like Giovanni in that shot. Then again, he owns a dojo. I kept thinking it was kind of weird that Norman doesn't feel as strong as the Pokemon gym he owns. Birch says, Norman! As the slime goes dead. Carolina says, he must have crushed the phone. He does that a lot. While Sapphire's just in the back going, okay. While Norman is pissed going, that little. Meanwhile, Ruby is running away from the dustox saying, wow, I thought I was tugging on a leaf, but it was actually a Pokemon's wings. And its owner is mad. Oh, suddenly the Pokedex he has goes off. And as Ruby grabs it, he says, huh? Oh. I put this in my pocket and forgot to give it back. This gizmo is identifying the Pokemon, but Dustox seems to spread something over the Poochian, Skitty, and Ralts. Oh god, I can see Ralt's eyes. That's freaky. And it causes them to pass out. Is it sleep powder or poison spore? Or stun spore? Ruby says, Rara, Kiki, Nana. What? They're badly poisoned. That Dusty is strong enough to knock out a pro wrestler. He recalls all of his Pokemon saying, hang in there, come back, Rara, Kiki, Nana. But as he sees Mudkip trailing behind, he says, this one didn't get hit by the dust because it's so slow. But, geez, Dustox is going in, just moving quickly around him. And as Ruby picks up Mudkip, he says, that Pokemon with their wings is fast. Where'd it go? Suddenly, Dustox lets off an attack. Ruby sees it coming and manages to dodge out of the way, diving off of the bridge. And through the dust, Dustox tries to find them, but can't seem to locate them at first. Ruby, hiding underneath the bridge, looks to the Pokedex saying, I've got to figure out a way to defeat it while it's still looking for me. But Dustox has already found him. Man, that's aggressive, Dustox. And goes trying for a tackle. Or is it letting off another beam? Ruby once again dives out of the way, saying, oh, how did it know where I was hiding? And as the Pokedex finally picks up on Dustox, poison moth Pokemon. When Dustox flaps its wings, a fine dust gets scattered all over. The dust is actually a powerful poison that will make a pro wrestler sick. This Pokemon searches for food using its antenna like a radar. Ruby says, its antenna. If I can just figure out how to jam its tracking ability. But how? What do I do? Suddenly, Mudkip's fin twitches and, oh, it detected it with its fin? Yo, Mudkip! Suddenly, Mudkip leaps off of Ruby's arms onto his shoulders, sprays Dustox with water, and Dustox just falls to the ground, much to Ruby's shock. Yo, Mudkip coming in clutch! Ruby wipes sweat off his brow, saying, that was close. The Hoenn region is a lot wilder than I thought. Yeah, I guess it's lucky I forgot to return this to Professor Burt. At least now I don't have to make a run for it whenever I bump into a mysterious Pokémon I've never met before. I'll give it back to his daughter when I meet her in 80 days. That's only 2.5 months from now. I'm sure her dad will understand. Now where was I? He picks up Mudkip, and puts him up on the nearby ledge as he tries to get out of the riverbeds, asking, so how do you track the movements of such a swift opponent? Mudkip's head fin waggles, and then Ruby realizes something and reads Mudkip's Pokédex entry that reads, Mudkip, the mudfish Pokemon. The fin on Mudkip's head acts as a highly sensitive radar. When using this fin to sense movements of water and air, this Pokemon can determine what is taking place around it without using its eyes. Ruby says, I see. You tracked it using your fin, your radar. And your radar is super sensitive. Mudkip sniffles. Man, that Mudkip needs to blow its nose. As Ruby gets himself out of the riverbed, he says, all right, let's go, Moo. Mudkip kind of questions this, and Ruby leans down saying, daydreaming again, huh? You answer to Moo now. You're relaxed, but also pretty sharp. I don't know what category to place you in yet, but I can't wait to see you win some contests. Together we'll make a great team. Mudkip's all excited, and as Ruby pulls out a map of Hoenn, he says, okay now, I need to figure out where to get a contest pass so I can enter the Hoenn region Pokemon contest. Alright, found it. And he activates his runner shoes, saying, let's head for the next town, taking off with Mudkip. We then cut to around the same time. We see Sapphire putting on the clothes that Ruby made for her. As she puts on her bag, she says, all right. She goes into Professor Birch's lab, saying, Pops? Birch turns away from his computer, saying, whoa! He then scopes out his daughter, saying, wow, you look so different. You're not wearing leaves anymore. You know what? The fact that Sapphire is like this, considering Birch is her dad, makes a lot more sense than you think it would. Because in the game, the rival character is kind of stock standard for the most part. But at least here there's a lot more personality. And considering how just kind of all over the place Birch can sometimes be, him having a child who acts like this makes a lot more sense than you would think. Then again, did she cut her nails? Her toenails and fingernails? Birch then spies the bag, saying, oh, I get it. You're finally on your way, aren't you? Sapphire gives a nod, and Birch says, off to challenge all the Hoenn gym leaders. It's always been your dream. He pats his daughter on the head, saying, all right then, off you go, and good luck. Sapphire says, thanks. Come on, chick. You too, Rono. As we see, she has an Aeron. And, oh god, I see Aaron's mouth. Ugh, freaky. I know they have them, I'm just not used to seeing their mouth so casually. Sapphire turns back as she races for the balcony, saying, and Pops, I'll do my best. And she leaps off, grabbing onto a vine and swinging off, giving out a yell. And Birch calls out from the balcony, go get 'em, Sapphire! It's 79 days left till the deadline. I actually like how supportive they are of each other. You know, I thought Sapphire was going to be some kind of lost wild child, but, you know, it's just simply she gets into the research. Oh god. Oh, we pick up in Petalburg City, where Ruby comes racing in with his running shoes, just blowing up people's skirts and a dude's wig, and he comes to a skidding halt. The running shoes are always so cool. And we just keep picking up right after the last chapter in each one. No real time has passed. And as Ruby taps his shoes, he says, you know, once you get used to them, these running shoes aren't half bad. Isn't that right, Moo? He turns to his Mudkip. We then see a whole bunch of berries in the trees as he says, oh look, orange berries and pekka berries. Let's pick 'em. And Mudkip uses a water blast to get him down. Ruby racing in with his running shoes. With a cool flourish, he catches him, saying, fantastic! I love this kid's style. In chapter 185, Nixing Nuzleaf, he tells Mudkip, now let's see if we can't find a hotel for tonight. We'll have to sneak around town, though, 'cause you know who is bound to be around here someplace. You know, that is one thing I will say I kind of preferred in the anime, where you could stay at the Pokemon Center. That was the explanation for where these kids stay. They need a place to crash? Pokemon Center. Easy explanation aside from staying outdoors. But then again, I guess that's because I always tried to make sure I got out to a Pokemon Center when I reached a new town. You know, I get to the town, go to a Pokemon Center, explore the town, do the gym, go to the Pokemon Center where I'd be like, okay, I'll spend the night there. And then I head out, go the routes, travel as long as it takes, get to my destination, hit up the Pokemon Center. That's how it always played out in my mind, at least. Ruby goes sneaking around saying, 'cause you know who is bound to be around here someplace. I'll avoid the main streets but there's a rustling in the brush next to him. Ruby goes, huh? As suddenly he's set upon by sea dots. Is that a Lotad? Yeah, Lotad. And one Nuzleaf. Oh, wow. Mudkip locks eyes with the Nuzleaf. Wow. And then immediately sends out a water gun. But, well, plant Pokemon. Nuzleaf takes the blast and uses, I don't know, Razor Leaf? I'm not sure. Not sure what attack it's using. But it beats back Mudkip. Oh, but Mudkip rebounds off the tree, grabs onto Nuzleaf's leaf on its head, flips like judo, grabs its nose with its feet, and then flings Nuzleaf out into the brush. What the heck, Mudkip? Badass! But Mudkip is also kind of flung himself. But, you know, Ruby manages to catch him. He says, are you alright, Mumu? That Pokemon is Nuzleaf. How about that? You must have grabbed onto its nose so you wouldn't fall. And check this out. That's its weak spot. Nuzleaf, the wily Pokemon. Nuzleaf lives in dense overgrown forests. They occasionally venture out of the forest to scare people. This Pokemon dislikes having its long nose pinched. Ah, Ruby cuddles with Mudkip saying, way to go, Moo. As he goes through the brush, he says, but how come all those wild Pokemon came jumping out like that? Oh, and then we see Wally. Oh, Wally. I will admit, if there was anybody who I thought would be the primary character for Emerald, it would have been Wally. But then again, it's kind of the side things on how you see his progression that really matter the most. I'm interested to see how his character will be depicted in this. I always remember Wally because I loved his journey. As someone who also grew up with a breathing problem when I was little, it was actually an inspiration because I managed to grow out of my breathing issues, because I was asthmatic. But I know there are some people I know who weren't so lucky, and I do need to be a lot more thankful that my issues didn't end up becoming all consuming. But we see Wally doubled over in pain with several broken Pokeballs around him. Ruby comes up saying, "What's wrong? Did those Pokemon do this to you?" Wally says, "I messed up again. All I wanted to do was capture a wild Pokemon. I heard there's a lot of them around here, so I've been trying over and over again, but, well, you can see for yourself." Wally gets up saying, "Anyway, thank you. You must have scared them off because you're so tough. You've got a really tough Pokemon there. I'm so jealous." But Ruby is taken aback, and so is his Mudkip. As Ruby says, "Huh?" Ruby has that sparkle in his eyes saying, "What did you just say? That my Pokemon is tough?" He hugs Wally saying, "Well, you've got a good eye for Pokemon at least. Friends forever." And Mudkip's just like, bruh. He's giving him that look like, bruh. But Ruby, as well as Mudkip with sparkle in his eyes, says, "You're right. Pokemon should be tough, cool, cute, smart, and beautiful. I'm Ruby. This Pokemon is Moo, my Mudkip. We're on a journey together. Our dream is to become a Pokemon contest champion. Since you're such a good judge of character, let's give it another try, okay?" Wally says, "Hey, thanks." Ruby gives it his face saying, "And if by some weird coincidence you happen to get to judge a Pokemon contest someday, remember to vote for me, alright?" Wally says, yeah, sure. Hey, it's really great you're offering to help me and all, but I've already found somebody teaching me the ins and outs of capturing Pokemon. But a cold chill runs down Ruby's spine, and a sweat drops down his forehead. He thinks, I've got a bad feeling about this. And then Wally says, and there he is, as you hear the crunching of footsteps as a very familiar looking figure approaches, along with a nope, I was gonna say slacking, but it's a Vigoroth. Ruby brings him into the brush as Wally says, he's really nice, I'll introduce you to, and Ruby drags him into the brush saying, hide. Norman looks around going, Wally? Wally? Wally, meanwhile, asks Ruby, why are we hiding? You know him? Ruby says, yeah, real well. That's Norman, the gym leader of Petalburg City, or as they call him, the man in pursuit of power. Also, he's my dad. Ending our video. Alright, and we even have the adventure map. I love this thing. Again, this is such a better way of seeing how their journeys are going. And now I realize how you should read their respective journeys. So we see how Ruby has already made his way to Petalburg City, and he has his Pokemon. Mudkip hasn't quite gotten to the point where it excels in any specific level. Oh, they took away the guide that tells you what the different areas are. Dang, I was hoping they'd keep that. But Sapphire has only made her way to Route 102. Okay, so she's a step behind Ruby. See, I have to wonder how this is gonna read out if they end up in very different locations. But her Aeron, Rono, is level 28? Dang, that's pretty high, given that it's only like the second town. No, wait, third town. Forget about Oldale Town sometimes, mostly because there ain't much in Oldale Town half the time. Well, there is, but not in the traditional sense, from what I remember. But this has been a great introduction to the two protagonists, especially because you don't really have a rival in this game in the more traditional sense. Because, you have Ruby, Sapphire, and it's Wally who is the representation of Emerald. But I know that the manga creates someone entirely different to be that Emerald representation, which is so interesting. But that shows how kind of small that presentation was, that even the mangaka maybe didn't key into it, or they just felt that somebody else needed to be that primary character instead of Wally. But Wally is the rival character as well. And when it comes to the characters of Brandon, May, Wally, they're all very nice characters. But yeah, Wally is a character who I always remember because I liked him from the start. He just immediately got endeared to me. But the characters as they're presented here are just so different, and I kind of like that. I wasn't sure if I would like it. I saw through like auxiliary means what it seemed to be their characters. I'm like, yeah, that seems a bit novel, but I'm not sure if I vibe with it. But now, having fully gotten to experience it, I love it. I love it. It's so interesting, and it does something so just out there, and it makes me interested to see how this plays out, because I like how they're doing this. Because if you did this from a more traditional standpoint, you'd have Brandon as the main character. Yeah, how would you do that? Because essentially, it's like the anime, but in reverse. Because in the anime, May was into contests, but her dad was the gym leader, Norman. And I guess in the anime, Brandon would be the son of Professor Birch and all that. And he would be on a Pokemon battling journey, because you see that in some animated moment. But there's such a difference in their personalities too, in an even more extreme version, because it's not just that Sapphire's into battling. No, she's into Pokemon. She lives amongst the Pokemon, embraces the musk, gets down in the dirt. She's a wild child, but she's not wild like I initially thought. She's just very dedicated, and that's not a bad thing. But the idea of Brendan or Ruby being the son of a gym leader, but instead of there being that acceptance, there's a bit of an animosity, Norman wants his son to be rough and tumble, a strong gym leader like him. He's probably trained him for countless hours. But Brendan's like, no, I want Pokemon contests, Dad. I want to, beauty and fabulousness is what I'm all about, and yada yada yada. Whereas Birch is more supportive. Norman is probably like, not that son of mine. It creates an interesting bit of tension, and we've already seen situations where gym leaders have been made to be a little bit more aggressive than I'm used to for some of them. I mean, in the anime and even in the games, characters like Lieutenant Surge and Koga. Well, Surge was a bit antagonistic in the anime, but Koga was a lot nicer in the anime than I would have expected. And then the direction they went with Price, and Price was a little standoffish in the anime, but man, the manga took it to a whole extreme level. But the idea of Norman, this character who in two different versions I've seen be this very supportive personality, and now it's like they draw him akin to Giovanni, and that throws me. Like that stern look in his eyes, it's freaky. It just kind of throws me a little bit. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm very interested to see where it goes, because he does have that tagline, man in pursuit of power, but it's a vibe that I never got in the game. Maybe if I had played Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I'd feel that a bit more. But Norman just feels too nice from what I remember. But then again, in the midst of battle, he's a little bit more aggressive. A more aggressive version of Norman. That's just wild to me. I'm just interested to see how that develops between their relationship. And how will Sapphire ultimately stand out as a character? Will it simply be through the Pokemon battles, or will it be more? And man, that's not even getting into the new evil teams. Ooh. I'm ready for so much in all of this, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.